Welcome back to another episode of Future Dawgs, Who's Next? Right here on the Varsity Voices Media Network, where we spotlight the next wave of talent across the Chicago Catholic League and beyond. Tonight, we head into the Red Division, a division filled with programs trying to build momentum, establish identity, and develop the next generation of impact players. We're talking about the programs at Marian Catholic, Leo Catholic, De La Salle, and Saint Viator. And as always, this episode is about more than just wins and losses. It's about discovering the players, underclassmen, and future contributors that people may not know yet, but will soon. Which teams are building something, which young players are ready to break out, and which programs could surprise people this season. So we're diving into all of it tonight on Future Dawgs, Who's Next? One of the things, Dan, in going through the research on this, which I really kind of enjoy, is with this division, and I don't want to say that we don't pay attention to it, because we do during the season, but it doesn't get as much interest or as much people talking about it. We're talking about players. And when I do research on it, I think, look at all these guys. I really like them.
Yeah.
I watch some of their clips and that kind of thing, and I think, all right, there is some real talent here, and I'm excited to talk about this division tonight.
It'd be nice, Joe, for this division if there was a really big rivalry, like De La Salle Leo should be a good rivalry, or
Right.
De La Salle Marian Catholic. I mean, Leo Marian Catholic. Saint Viator is new to the division. They're removed significantly. Talk about some rough drive times for teams.
Saint Viator's got a tough one this year.
But it would be nice to see, and if they get better and challenge some of these schools in some other divisions, which we think they have the opportunity to do based on some of these names,
right?
I think that will generate it. And one of the steps that you take as you're getting better is to play in big games. Give me a big game, whether it's regular season or because we're 3-0 and the team we're playing is 3-0. If Leo and De La Salle could meet, at one of those times when each is 3-0, that would be a big game and it would generate interest. So that's what they need. It's part of that process. And hopefully with some of these guys we're going to talk about tonight, they're getting there. I think they might be.
Yeah. So Dan, you and I, and we've talked about and we've written about the coaching trend in the Chicago Catholic League, right? As far as former NFL players, kind of high profile coaches. And this division has two of them, right?
Yeah.
It's got Robbie Gold for Saint Viator, and it's got Harold Blackman for De La Salle, both former professional football players, right? So we talk about this and we talk about this trend, and I believe it is a trend, but we dig into it a little bit deeper over on our Substack, right? So people want to read a little bit more about it and get a little bit more detail. You got to go and visit our Substack page at thevarsityvoices.substack.com. And there you can read about what we think the trend as far as some of the professional football players coming back to coach in high school and what that's all about. So
you can definitely see the trend lines. If you go there and you look at it and see some of the timelines and when it's kind of become really hot, and that's kind of a place that these athletic directors want to look.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they look there, and one of the things I like about this, Dan, is the professional football players who want to. I think about it in a way, if they want to be a head coach on the high school level, that they're kind of giving back to some extent. They've got that experience. They've got that talent. They've got the coaching ability, or at least most of them have had some kind of coaching experience as well. But I really think from a standpoint of giving back that I like the trend myself within the Chicago Catholic League. And I don't know if there's anywhere else in Illinois that this is happening. Any other conferences, Dan, than the Chicago Catholic League?
Yeah, well, it's one of the things with private schools is you don't necessarily have to have a teacher. Not that you have to in public schools, but you definitely see that more as a public school thing where it's teachers and you could say, Joe, you said you like it. I think a case could be made on both sides. So
Yeah,
it's why people should go read the article and
right.
and follow us, subscribe to our Substack.
Substack, thevarsityvoices.substack.com. So go there and look at it, read it. There's other stuff out there too that you're going to enjoy. So, all right. So, Dan, let's dive into the Red Division. And,
Who do you want to start with?
I want to start with Leo.
Okay.
We hadn't talked about Leo all that much. And then last year we talked about him a little bit more, right? We interviewed Coach Hopkins, Theo Hopkins, who's their head coach. Great interview. You can catch that out on our YouTube channel or Spotify or Apple, wherever you listen from. And I think he's brought a new kind of energy to Leo, and I think we saw that last year. Now they didn't have a great year, but they got some good wins, I think, and I think they ended up 3-6 or 3-7, three and
Well, they
six.
they went in the Prep Bowl, didn't they?
I can't remember.
I think they did. I don't know how they did there, but also great experience because they're so young,
They are
right? And
very young,
and yeah, 3-6, 3-6. Maybe it makes the playoffs this year.
right?
Probably does. So it's not that you want to set a goal of being 3-6, but you really want to continue that trend of being more and more competitive and having more difference makers on your team.
Yeah, for sure. And I think Coach Hopkins is starting to get there, right? You just mentioned something there, Dan, that was the other thing I noticed as I went through the Red Division is yes, they do have some good players coming back, juniors or seniors, right? But this division is young.
Yeah.
I think they're pointing towards a couple years down the road in a lot of cases, as far as, really being able to make a mark or make a difference and put themselves kind of in the conversation from the Chicago Catholic League, because they've got some really good young players coming up. And we're going to talk about some of them. So like for Leo, they have Cornell Smith, who actually will be a senior next year, but middle linebacker, really tough kid, starting to get, some looks from some schools and colleges, but he plays, I think he's 5'10", 215, 220 pounds, moves really well, good player. You and I both like linebacker play, and I like the way he plays. They move him all over the field on defense. So,
Yeah,
you
you
know,
do see that. You do see that a little bit with Leo and De La Salle. They've got multiple positions that they might play throughout the game, trying to get some people some experience. Joe, another linebacker type that we did mention last year several times, that may have been as a more of a running back, was Jabril Konecki. Yeah, he's a really nice player, and he was already a difference maker last year for Leo.
If you are looking to buy or sell a home, contact REMAX Realtor and Circle of Legends recipient Christopher Cobb. Let Chris's extensive negotiating experience work to guide you on all of your real estate buying and selling needs. Contact Christopher now to discuss the right strategy for your personalized real estate buying and selling plan. His number is 630-420-0070, or you can visit his website at christophercobb.com.
To have him develop a little more and come back this year, those are two guys that can really make a difference on the defensive side of the ball.
yeah. And, we always look at obviously the skill players as far as, what do they have coming back next year? But, Leo's got a little bit of size too coming back. They've got Daquan Brumfield. He's a defensive tackle, plays on the edge, 6'3", 265 pounds, moves really well for that size. So that's good. They've got a defensive lineman who's going to be junior next year, Emmett Patterson, who's 5'11", 275 pounds.
Yeah, that's stout.
out, clogs up the middle, so that they've got some size, but I would think where Leo probably stands out a little bit, going into next year is at some of the skill positions, right? Um, DiCaprio Turks, wide receiver, free safety, plays really well, moves really well. Antonio Clark, another 6'2", 165-pound wide receiver, DB, prototypical size, right,
Yeah.
that you would
Yeah, he
want at that
does.
position. Caleb Allen, who was a freshman this year, I think they're going to rely on him because he's got some size too. He's plays offensive line, defensive line, 6'3", 225 pounds. So, only going to be a sophomore next year. So, Coach Hopkins has done a good job as far as getting some kids in the school that, he can work with this coming year.
Yeah. And, it'll be interesting to see. They had a couple quarterbacks, Joe, that I found that were listed. Trent Watson, 5'11", 160, a junior quarterback. And Jesse Say, who's listed as a quarterback and wide receiver, 6'1",
Right.
165. He's pretty explosive player. I saw another one. Terrence Wilson will be a sophomore next year, current freshman. He's got good size. He's throws darts, really quick release. I didn't see a size listed, but watched a little video of him, and he's a nice player, accurate, not afraid to run with the football. So they've got some guys that can get the ball to some of these wide receivers that we're mentioning.
Yeah. And I think they might surprise some people, Dan, this coming year. And I think they surprised some people last year in not only in the way they played, because they played really hard under Coach Hopkins, and he's got them working hard. I looked at some of the stuff that they're doing, their off-season stuff, and they're working hard.
Yeah, they're
lifting.
getting after it a little bit.
They're getting after it, which I love. They've got Robert Cunningham III, who's going to be a junior, defensive end, tight end, really athletic, looks really good. Jahad Smith, who is a guard and their kicker, right?
I love it. I
love
that.
it too. Big guys kicking the ball. I
Yep.
love that. Yeah.
Does he go straight on? Did you see any kicks?
I did. I saw one kick. He does go straight on.
Nice.
Yeah. He doesn't have the flat toe on the front of the shoe.
He's got to get another shoe.
Yeah, we may have to get him a Varsity Voices flat toe front shoe.
Put our pictures
that he
right on
can
the
wear.
flat part of the toe.
Yeah. Joseph Burdine, going to be a junior defensive end. So you can see that Coach Hopkins has got some players that they're young. They're going to be young, but he's got some talented players that I think are going to make a difference and maybe surprise some people in the coming year.
Joe, I also came across, and if you mentioned these already, I apologize, but Marcus Dale.
Marcus Dale, I did not mention.
Yeah, wide receiver, DB, fast, not afraid to hit. He's not real big, but he's only a current freshman, so he's got a chance to get better. I really liked how he looked on film. Angelo Nunez, another sophomore wide receiver to be. So sophomore to be wide receiver. And so they've got, playmakers coming through the pipeline. One thing you notice, and we can say this about these new coaches, that first class when they get there is always pretty good.
Yeah.
That would be the current freshman, sophomore, current freshman under Coach Hopkins, kind of the first class he was able to go out and talk about the Leo High School and what it means to be at Leo and sell some of those things and get people excited about their program. So it doesn't surprise me that class is a strong one for them.
It is. And, they've got a couple of players, as we mentioned, that are going to be seniors next year that, have stuck with this program over the last 3 years and are going to be contributors. One other name that I wanted to mention, Dan, here is Ian White Holmes for Leo. Center, nose tackle, big kid, moves really good, and kind of clogs up the middle on defense and as well as on offense. So when you look back on this and what we just talked about, they've got some good players coming back at all the kind of key positions that you're looking at from a standpoint. So
did you mention Anaji Cozy?
I did not.
Okay, he's another senior D lineman, good experience, stout at the point of attacks. So yeah, there's another one. So we've just rattled off 15 names of players to watch for Leo. So it is the trend is good and strong for Leo.
Yes, and I'm excited to see how they do this year.
Yeah, me too.
For sure. Yeah.
Me too.
All right, so let's move on to the next team here, Dan, in the Red Division. That's Saint Viator. Year 2 in the Robbie Gold era of the head coach. So it's going to be interesting to see what Coach Gold is able to do in year 2. One of the things I noticed here too, Dan, they do have a couple of guys or several guys coming back who are going to be seniors, right? But again, there's some freshmen here, freshmen and sophomores that I think Coach Gold is really probably looking at as, developing more this year and really going to be contributors. I think he expects them to be contributors, this coming year. But, when you look at St. Viator and look at some of the players that they have here, I think, they're going to be young as well. I mean, they've got some guys, all dog team from last year, Patrick Carnell, right?
Yeah. 3 all-conference players, Joe, coming back.
Yes. So Patrick Carnell, right? DB, athlete, safety. He kind of did it all for them last year.
Yeah.
And he missed 3 games.
Right.
Yeah, but he was still all conference.
You saw it when he was out. I remember that they did not look as dangerous without Patrick Carnell.
Right. Yeah, so they're relying on him big time this year, I'm sure. But the other all-conference players, who were they? Colton Schneider,
linebacker, 6'2", 210, moves really well and is one of those guys that's all over the field. And then Jack Leonard,
right,
wide receiver, DB, 6'1", great multi-sport athlete. I hope he's still playing football, planning on playing football because he's a hooper.
He's good.
Yeah, he's a hooper and he's a stud. So, and that's kind of where his highlights live in Huddle. You see it's basketball first. I hope he continues to be a multi-sport athlete because he's a good one.
Yeah, and he was all conference last year, as you just mentioned. So you would think Coach Gold will not want to let him get away.
No.
Right?
No, can only help him in basketball too. Can only help you.
Yes. Yeah, but, some of the other players I looked at, and these are all kind of younger guys, right, was, Coach Gold did a good job on X and posted some names out there of, some of the after or postseason awards that St. Viator gave to the players. And, I took a look at some of these guys and, one that I was really impressed with was Seamus Ruste, running back, defensive back. He was a freshman last year, got some varsity time. He was their most improved player. He can run. And he's shifty. He's got another gear too. So I would think they're going to be looking at him to really be a big contributor this year for Viator. The other one that I liked, Dan, and he was the most improved player, was freshman, played defensive line for varsity, Austin Kauke, Kauke, and moves really well. They had him on the edge most of the time. Obviously when you watch guys play or watch some of their clips and they're freshmen, we can tell they're freshmen, watching them play. It's pretty rare when you can't tell somebody's a freshman, but these guys have got some talent for sure. So it's something.
Yeah, Joe. And it's funny that you say that because this guy I'm going to mention here, he's listed as quarterback / wide receiver, and he's a class of 29. So current freshman, Dylan Molina.
Yes.
Yeah, he does not look like a freshman at wide receiver. Now, I don't know, he might be a great athlete. Probably, I'm going to guess maybe wants to be a quarterback, but they had one. So they used him because he's such a good athlete as a wide receiver, and he fit perfect. He got some good time on varsity, kind of fast tracked to the varsity team, and was really good. As it's just really funny that you say that because he did not look like a freshman to me. That's what I thought of when I watched him play, and that spells great things for Saint Viator in the future.
Yeah, and I didn't see anybody else, Dan, for Saint Viator listed at the quarterback position other than Dylan Molina, even
Yeah.
though he was only a freshman this past year. So it'll be interesting to see what they do at the quarterback position. They had a good one last year, and was it Joey Lampagnana?
Lampin,
Lampagnano. I should
come
know
on, we
that
got to be
better.
able to
Come
say
on.
that.
Yes.
Yes.
Gosh, yeah. So I'm sure, it's going to be tough to replace him, but, maybe they're looking towards Dylan Molina for that. The other thing, and I mentioned St. Viator giving out some of their year-end awards or postseason awards. Their co-offensive MVP last year, Dan, was a player named Tommy Newell,
Yes.
and he's only going to be a junior, wide receiver, DB, tall, kind of lanky, but really athletic.
Yeah.
And, I can see why he was their co-offensive MVP. So I would imagine this guy's going to get the ball in his hands a lot.
Yeah, he's a playmaker, right? He's really good after the catch. I don't know if you saw the same thing I saw, a little quick screen that he just kind of weaves in and out. And, he kind of plays a little like Patrick Carnell. He reminded me of him. Patrick Carnell, I always thought it's one of those guys that's kind of weaves in and out, finds his way getting downfield.
Yes.
So,
the kind of guys
he's
you hate
dangerous.
to try and tackle.
Yes, they just kind of find a way to gain yards. Yeah. And Tate Williams, Joe, another junior wide receiver DB. So,
right.
So, St. Viator seems like they're in a pretty good position. It'll be interesting to see how they fit as the new team in the red division. So I know that there's bound to be some good games here. And Joe, I don't know. I've got one more senior, I think, that I had on here was Nicholas Riley.
Okay.
Tight end, D line. He's kind of a heavy blocker guy, at tight end, but was able to catch a couple passes and do some good things. And he's the guy they're going to be looking to, as a senior this year to probably get more involved and maybe be more of a force on the defensive line.
Yeah, well, you mentioned tight end. They've got another one, tight end linebacker, who's going to be a senior, Dylan Burke. And, most of the stuff that I saw on him, Dan, was him playing tight end, although I saw some stuff at linebacker. He moves really good.
Yeah.
He's not your typical big kind of tight end as far as, a real big body or something. He's more like a wide receiver, a little bit bigger wide receiver playing tight end. And, he gets the ball, makes a move. He's got another gear. I really like the way he plays. So I would think that, he's going to be a big part of their offense too this year.
Absolutely. Yeah, he is. He's an athlete on the defensive side of the ball, can play at free safety, can play a little outside linebacker if you want him in the box and more effective against the run. But yeah, he's going to be someone they count on on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, and you can't not mention the kicker for Saint Viator, considering their head coach, right?
Yes.
And they've got a good one, Dan, who's going to be a senior this year. His name is Alex Nemec. Had a really good year last year. I think he kicked field goals of 50 yards, 49 yards, 40 yards. He also punts for them too. He had a 64-yard punt. And he is working hard. I saw some of his clips out there and on Huddle and on X, and he is kicking the ball a long way. So he's going to be a weapon for Saint Viator as well.
Yeah, it's such a great thing to have. You're at such a big advantage when you've got a strong kicking game, and you don't have to. If you're on the 35 or the 30 or the 25, you don't have to go for it on 4th and 7. You can get 3 points out of it.
Right, for sure. Yeah, so I would imagine, knowing Coach Gold and his background, that he'll be relying on this kicker, Alex.
Yeah,
Alex
and he'll be
Nemec.
well trained. Yeah,
Yes,
Alex
he'll be
will be
well
well trained
trained
for sure.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So that's St. Viator, Dan, and let's move to De La Salle, a team that has had its challenges over the last several years, and we've gone over those in detail over the last couple of years. But I think Coach Blackman has kind of quietly started to bring them back and bring some talent into the program there. And again, they're going to be young, which does not surprise me. Does it
Right.
surprise you that, I mean,
No.
he got there, what, is he 2 years?
Last year it was his second year, so this
Last
is
year was
year
second
3.
year.
So
This'll
year
be year
1
3. Was tough.
disaster for them. Yeah, they
Really
couldn't
tough.
finish the season. So we said it multiple times, the fact that they were able to get all 9 of their games in, play a full lower level schedule, that you had to count that as a win last year. And they've got some players now that show like it, that they're developing so that they can be more competitive on the varsity side.
Yeah, they do. And they've got a couple that, other teams are going to have to be, aware of for sure. Right. One is they've got a junior. And, I said at the start of this that, these teams are young. I think De La Salle, they're really young. A lot of the guys that, at least that I looked at and was, doing a bit of research on, watching their clips, they're all going to be either sophomores or juniors next year. And, you've got Dante Patterson, who's their linebacker, middle linebacker, 5'9", about 200 pounds, works really hard. I love the way he patrols the middle of the defense. Um, he looks like a linebacker, and he's stout and he makes good tackles. So I think he's somebody that, they're, is going to make a big difference for them this year on the defensive side of the ball. Another linebacker, who's going to be a junior next year, a linebacker, plays a little running back, is Hector Luavanos, who really is working hard in the offseason. I could see that, and based on some of the stuff that I watched, and he's going to be a good player. If he takes the next step this year. Anthony Garrison, another defensive tackle. He's one of the bigger guys for them, and he's actually going to be a senior. And he's 6'2", 250, 255. And he plays nose tackle for them from what I can see, and, moves pretty well, clogs up the middle. He's going to be a good player. He's going to be somebody that kind of holds the defensive line for them this year. Couple other guys, Dan, I don't know if you saw this, but, I always wonder when I look at some of these teams, who's going to play quarterback for them?
Right.
Right. And because we know how important that is. But, De La Salle, I think, has 2 pretty good options here. They've got Bodai Seta, who's going to be a junior, 6'1", 170, moves really well, throws the ball good as well. He's also a pitcher. Right-handed pitcher, so he's a dual athlete. Got a really nice arm. And then they've got a freshman this year who's the brother of one of the other players on their team who's going to be a senior, but Samaj Sirleaf.
Yeah, I saw Samaj.
Two-sport
He looks
athlete.
like a player.
Looks like a player. He really does. It'll be interesting to see where Coach Blackman uses him, especially if, depending on who ends up playing quarterback. But some of the clips I saw of Samaj were him playing wide receiver, and he looks really good there too. So
he's got good size too. I saw him at 6'1", 190.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really good size, Joe.
Yeah, it is. And his older brother, who's really, plays offensive line and defensive line for them, is Elijah Sirleaf. Yeah.
Yeah, 5'9", 220, stout.
Yes, and strong as can be. I saw some clips of him. I think he was squatting almost 500 pounds. Yeah. And he was one of their all-conference players coming back next year, so he'll be a senior. Yeah.
He made a huge difference for them last year. 2 years ago, they couldn't snap the ball.
Right.
And so to have that consistency and Elijah step up, and not only step up to play, but be an all-conference player, Joe, that was a really, really big deal. So it's good to see that he's getting rewarded for his efforts, and he's a nice player. He jumps out on the film.
Yes, he does, for sure. And I love how hard he is working in the off season.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
That's where
he
they have to
puts
be,
it out there.
in this
Yes.
league, right?
Yes, it's really good. And they've got two other players, Dan, that I want to mention that are going to be juniors next year. One's a free safety in Taylor Finley,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like 6'2", 175 pounds. Free safety for them. Really moves well,
Yeah.
fast,
Play some running
and
back too.
played some running back as well, right? And then they've got another wide receiver, defensive back, Zaire Bigham, who also looks really good, moves really well, got a lot of speed, so there's some pieces here for De La Salle, and it'll be interesting to see what they do. They had a freshman this year, big, if you're looking for big guys, they had a freshman this year, Jaden Ross, who 6'1", 285, playing offensive line, defensive line for
That's
them.
big.
And, another kid who kind of flew under the radar last year, but had some big plays was Chaz McKinney, who is going to be a senior wide receiver for them.
Yeah. Joe,
They've
they
got-
have two other all-conference guys, I think, returning as well. I think.
Right. Yeah.
Donovan Moore, who's
Mm-hmm.
going to be a junior.
Yep.
Small, but he's DB guy. He plays really hard. Does a great job. And Paris Morris, another linebacker.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Did you see those guys?
I did.
Yeah.
I saw Paris Morris. I did not see
Donovan Moore.
Donovan Moore. No.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So just they've got some people. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of step they take. There's because of where they fell to as a program, you can see big steps happening with De La Salle as they happen, and it's kind of exciting to see. It's great for the league. It's great for De La Salle, storied high school in Illinois, so in Chicago. So it's great to see Coach Blackman getting that turned around.
Yes, it is. All right. So the last team we have in the Red Division, Dan, is Marian Catholic, and they won the Red Division last year. I think 3-0 in the Red Division.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. And Coach Lopez was the coach of the year for the Red Division as well. So,
right.
Their overall record was not great, but I mean, they were very competitive within the Red Division last year, and really are a team that you have to look at in the Red Division to be right up there again as far as, who's going to be at the top of this division, by the end of the year.
Yeah, I always think that they're like the most overlooked team by us and others in the conference for some reason. And I hope that changes. They've had some really good players. Some guys get big time offers. Coach Lopez does a really good job. So it's good to see they've got some young players coming back. And you mentioned that they seem like they're working hard in the weight room as well. And Coach Lopez is doing the right things to make that program strong.
Yeah. I mean, you've got Gavin Neal, right?
Yeah.
Who was a defensive lineman for them. He's going to Boston College.
Right.
Big time. Kyle Scott was an outstanding running back last year. I think he's going to Quincy. And then they've got at least 2, 3, 4 other guys who are seniors who are going on to play college football at some level, right? So
that's great. He's doing these guys right by getting that done.
Yeah,
helping them get that.
And you're right. It's quietly, right? We talk about him obviously every week during the season because we cover all the games, but it's definitely more quiet talking about Marian Catholic and, where they're at and who they've got and all their players. So again, like I mentioned when we started, I love doing some of this research because it really kind of opens my eyes a bit to some of the programs, some of the players, and the coaches as well. So
yeah, and I mean, Gavin Neal was as good as there was in the conference last year. So he was, and that his recruiting season seemed like it was just pretty quiet. So
yeah,
so like I said, they all have to take a step. So they play in some big games and get more than just us chatting about them.
Right. Yeah, but they've got some good players coming back too, Dan, and they're also going to be young, which seems to be the theme in the Red Division, right?
Right.
they've got freshman this year is Kalon Jewel Brown, who is a wide receiver, strong safety, 6 foot 180, can just flat out fly. And he's going to be in their plans this year on both sides of the ball. Another guy, ton of speed, Karen Griffin, running back, wide receiver, cornerback. I mean, 5'9", 165 pounds. Another guy, you get him the ball in space, and he makes some people miss, and he can run. So they've got some real talent at some of the skill positions here. I mean, the one player they have coming back who's going to be a senior and is really getting a lot of notice is Elijah Reynolds.
Mm-hmm.
He's their defensive end, 6'2", 220, starting to get some offers from different schools. So really good player there. Yeah.
Yeah, and they return Andrew Gores as well. So he's all conference player, and he may be the guy that gets the ball under center. He may be the quarterback this year. So I know he played some wide receiver as well. So, but I look to him to kind of be the quarterback. I think he's probably one of those guys that really good athlete, like we talked about before, that could play wide receiver. It's what you do with sophomore or junior quarterbacks if they can't quite get on the field yet because the senior's really good. So you make them wide receivers. You can't have them on the bench, even though you're scared to death if they get hurt and then your quarterback gets hurt. But it wouldn't surprise me if Andrew Gores is under center this year.
Yeah. Wouldn't surprise me either. And they've got a couple other players getting a bit of notice here too, Dan. And one is Nathaniel Pindor, 6'2.5". He's going to be a junior, 215 pounds, moves really well. He plays outside linebacker. They also have him on the edge, plays a little bit of tight end as well, but fast, really getting stronger from what I can tell and starting to get noticed by some schools out there too. I also like a kid who was a freshman this year, and he's listed as an athlete, but I saw him the running back position as well as a wide receiver position. That was Christian Harris.
Mm-hmm.
So he's only going to be a sophomore. He's already almost 6 foot, 170 pounds, and can really run too. And one more, Dan, is Antonio Burton, 5'8", 175. Another guy they're probably going to use all over the field on both offense and defense because he's a great athlete, moves really well. He's got speed, he's got toughness, and I think Marian Catholic has some really good pieces in place for this coming year.
Yeah, I had a couple others, Joe, too, that I wanted to make sure we mentioned. Jazaris Mackmore, 6'3", 195 pounds. He's going to be a senior wide receiver.
Yeah.
So really, really good size. I mentioned
I was going to say, Dan, I saw I think he got offered by University of Illinois for baseball.
Really?
Yeah. Okay. He's a really good baseball player. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that'd be interesting to see. Hopefully he sticks with it. I always worry about that stuff, especially when they get offered, And I mentioned Andrew Gores, I thought would be the quarterback, but Jaden Harris is a young quarterback coming up through the system. Thomas Edwards, DB, wide receiver. Gawain Nash is a big guy, offensive line, defensive line, also plays a little linebacker. He moves really well for a young guy. Did you mention Jameer Williams?
No, I did not.
Yeah, he's another running back type that was really good on the lower levels. And then Aiden Lopez, middle linebacker, tight end. I don't know if it's any relation, but to Coach Lopez, but yeah, he's a young guy. He's only 5'8", 160, but you can tell he's way into it. Lives and breathes Marian Catholic. So
yeah.
So they've definitely got some players, Joe, that we can look at for the future and come back to these notes when they start to make a difference on the field.
Yeah, for sure. We're going to be following these guys. Now that we've done this research, Dan, it's going to be better off for us and for these teams because during the year, we're going to be looking for these guys.
Yeah.
And what they're doing.
Can I make a request?
Yes.
Get your rosters out there.
Yes, please get your rosters. Even better, just send them to us.
Send them directly to us. It's a good idea.
You can find us on X. You can find us, all over the place. Substack, X, Instagram, Facebook. Where else are we, Dan? We're on Spotify. We're on
Spotify,
Apple.
YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube.
Yeah.
Send
Send
us
it anywhere. Call us. Email us.
Right. And if we forgot somebody, I always
Yes,
forget to say
please.
that. If we forgot somebody, because we don't want to forget people, but we can only get so much information in a certain period of time that we have to prepare for the episodes. But we don't want to leave anybody out, for sure, because we want to make sure we follow them, watch them in the upcoming season.
Yeah, it's we would love to do it. We have no intentions of leaving anyone out, but we know we miss people too.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so that's going to wrap up this edition of Future Dawgs. Who's next? The Chicago Catholic League Red Division. And big thanks to everyone listening, watching, supporting, sharing clips, and helping us continue to grow the conversation around high school football in Illinois. Make sure you subscribe on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube so you don't miss the next division breakdown, player spotlight interview, or live show. Make sure, as we mentioned, check out our Substack at thevarsityvoices.substack.com. And remember, today's unknown sophomore, freshman, or overlooked junior can quickly become tomorrow's name everybody's talking about. That's what Future Dawgs is all about. For Dan and Joe, this is the Varsity Voices Media Network, and we'll see you next time.